Hey there, folks. Andre, the Game Idea Guy here, and okay, I'm not the technology guy. I'm not, at least not in that sense. Like, I know what each and every part does and all that stuff. I'm not that guy. I've been learning, but I'm still not that guy. That's just not how my brain works. My brain works on how the technology shows us things, what it does that we can see. I'm that guy. So, okay, when I see people asking for DLSS on the Switch 2, or even just for the hardware on the Switch 2 itself to boost the frame rates on Switch or Switch 1 games at this point, I wonder if people understand that that's not just how it works. You can't just throw it in the console and it just does that. That's not how that works. It has to be programmed into it. The hardware doesn't matter if you don't program it to utilize it that way. And my theory has always been, my running theory has always been that Switch 2 is just going to have a Switch mode like the Wii U had a Wii mode, and it's going to operate largely the same as what the OG Switch did, with the ability to upscale the graphics or upscale the resolutions, because you're not really upscaling the graphics, but to upscale the resolutions to give it a cleaner picture, which is exactly what the Wii U did for the Wii. It's not going to change the frame rates of the games unless the games are reprogrammed to take advantage of the additional hardware. But if the hardware has a specified mode for its backwards compatibility, it's likely not going to be fully operational. It's likely going to have it partially cut off from the power draw, the same way that the Wii U did when it went into Wii mode. You weren't using all of the cores on the CPU side of the Wii U when it went into Wii mode. You were only using one. People, why do I have to explain this? Why am I the one that has to explain this? Like, I keep seeing people asking for that, and it's like, do you not know how game consoles work? There is not a game console on the face of this planet that I know of that just boosted the frame rate of games from the previous console. Ever. Even with backwards compatibility. I've never seen that happen. I mean, I could be wrong. I may be wrong, but I've never seen that happen. Because that would require reprogramming the game. And if you can reprogram the game to do that on the new hardware that has the backwards compatibility mode for the old hardware, then you could just do it on the old hardware. Because you're essentially doing the exact same task under the exact same circumstances. It's just in a different machine. Why do people not get this? Why do people not understand this? I get that when you guys see emulators basically brute forcing a game to run at a higher frame rate, that's what a lot of people desire, and I don't fault you for desiring that, but I do fault people for not taking the time to understand how it works. You're asking for something that you would likely not pay for, because to reprogram all of those games to take advantage of the hardware of the new console would require way more man hours than they have right now, and it would cost a lot of money to do that. So if you're not willing to pay for it, because you have to understand that there is a cost involved with that, if you're not willing to pay for that cost, you can't ask for that to be done. Consoles don't work the same way as PCs. People need to stop thinking that they do. Just because Microsoft and Sony made soft PCs doesn't mean an actual game console works the same way a PC does. You gotta stop thinking in that way. That's not how it works. And another thing, because I'm already on this tangent anyhow, hearing people or seeing people say, well, Nintendo's X number of generations behind on technology. Technology isn't just graphical improvements or resolution improvements. So, as it's been rumored, Nintendo's potentially including SDUC for SD cards, which would go from the range of 2 terabytes to 128 terabytes. Is that old technology? The Joy-Cons, the new Joy-Cons look completely different from the old ones and have different changes added to them. Is that necessarily old technology now? Are we going to say that technology only updates in one direction? Gosh, it's getting on my nerves to keep hearing people say these things. It's not that I'm sitting here thinking I'm like sitting here thinking like I have knowledge that people don't have. A lot of times people have this knowledge and they choose to ignore it. It is most likely because they hear other people say it, and then that type of thing gets passed around colloquially, and it just keeps perpetuating, even if that information is incorrect. And there are plenty of people that know that information is incorrect, but they'll still run with it. Just like everybody focusing on the Wii U's name being the only issue that console had. Despite there being numerous other things that caused the snowball effect that happened. And I even went over it myself. Went over it with Shadow Fox, which there's a video on his channel for that. And I went over it by myself more recently because someone asked me what I meant, and I figured it's best to just go ahead and do that whole stream and talk about it. Attributing the growth in technology to one thing means that you are limiting technology. That's not how it works. That has never been how it works. There are other things that are to be considered in how technology works. You have multiple computer parts that do the exact same thing, generation over generation over generation, and they are tasked with doing the exact same thing more efficiently, better, with less room for error. That is technological growth. Just because you have a certain idea of how growth is supposed to work does not mean that that is the correct way that growth works. And it's frustrating for me because I'm sitting here like, I know that these people they're not, as much as I may get on my high horse sometimes and say that there are people that are cognitively deficient, I'm sitting here like, I know you're not someone who lacks in intelligence. I just see that this is like information that has perpetuated itself around, and people hug on to that for some reason, but don't want to think outside of the box. And I question why that is. You are a gamer. You're supposed to be a part of one of the most creative hobbies there is. You are a part of the fandom in general. You should be thinking about the different ways that technology works and the different ways that technology is improved. But people aren't. They're only thinking about it in one direction, which makes no sense to me. How can you see new technology come out and the only thing you can think of, oh, does it look prettier? Does it look smoother? If that's the only reason that you are in gaming, you have lost the fundamental basis of what gaming is. I guess I can fault this to how 7th generation pushed this idea that prettier is better, even though a lot of those games were crap when they launched. Oh man. Not all of them, but a lot. And if anybody says there's not shovelware on 360 and PS3, just look at the library. It'll say enough for itself. But we've got to recondition our thinking. We can't have our thoughts and our mental processes be stuck on, oh, well, this is prettier than that, so this is the better thing. Oh, I see a few more pixels here because I'm squinting at the screen real close and counting them with a needle. People, we got to do better mentally. I don't know what this affliction is on the gaming community, but we've got to do something to fix this in some way, shape, or form. Because it's bordering the line of insanity at this point. People acknowledge that higher graphical quality, however you determine that, causes more expense. So when a company goes out of their way to do different things with technology, we basically dogpile them when they do something different that can enhance things in a different way from just making them look better. But then complain when we have to pay $70, $80, $90, $100 per game because development costs have gone up, resource costs has gone up, and a lot of famous people are now putting their names and faces in video games, which also raises cost. Can we keep some sort of consistency? Can we in some way, shape, or form understand that not every change that has happened in the gaming industry, specifically those around quote unquote power, have been the best choices for changes in technology and gaming? And if you're really worried about power, go build yourself a PC with the highest end specs. Let that PC last you for about 10 years and then repeat the process. If that's what you're really concerned with. If you want fun and engaging stuff, then you have to think of game consoles in a far different way than you think of PCs. Otherwise, that's going to eventually be completely lost. That's something that people really have to start thinking about. But I'm done my little rant. I just wanted to get that out because I keep seeing these frustrating things, and at some point my brain was probably going to pop. So I just figured I'd go ahead and alleviate myself of the explosion of brain matter everywhere. But as I said, thank you guys very much for listening in. Keep your eyes and ears out for more stuff from me, and until the next time, enjoy your games, and peace out, everybody.